What is up, ladies, gentlemen, and gentle birds? Welcome to the Outside Insider. It's Friday, the weekend is here, and the birds are 2-0. What's up, Ron? Hope you are having a nice evening. What a night it was. I remember half of it. I did pass out at halftime, admittedly. I tried to stay up for the whole game, didn't quite go to plan. Got caught up this afternoon, and yeah, a lot to digest for sure. Some of it good, some of it bad, some of it certainly cause for conversation. And we'll get to all of that throughout the course of tonight's show. Don't worry about it. But if you are just tuning in, make sure to leave a like on the video. Be sure to interact, say hello, give me your takes about this team, how you're feeling after a Thursday night football victory. Kirk Cousins mudded in prime time again, although he actually looked pretty damn good for most of that second half. The main thing, though, is the Eagles are 2-0. And there's one man that is the reason for that win, really. His name isn't Jalen Hurts. His name isn't Nick Sirianni. His name isn't Brian Johnson. His name is No, it's DeAndre Swift. What a day that man had. 170-plus yards rushing on the night. Absolutely unbelievable from the former Detroit Lion. What's up, Jay Fierce? Hope you are all well, my friend. Eric's in the chat as well. Nice to see you. We do have work to do. There's definitely some work to do. But let's get straight into it. Let's have a chat about DeAndre Swift, because what a day at the office that was. Let's just contextualize this with another fancy Liam graphic, because, you know, this is how we do things now, all right? We look somewhat professional. 175 yards, 1 touchdown, 6.3 yards per carry. And if that wasn't good enough, if you didn't already think that was good, he had 77% of the carries that night, okay? Which, when you think about Eagles backfields in the past, that doesn't typically happen. This is an Eagles backfield that is very much always a committee. There are always 3 or 4 backs in rotation, dating back long past probably since like 2015, I would say. You had DeMarco Murray, Ryan Matthews, Darren Sproles, that era. It's been the same model. It's very rare you see one running back monopolize the carries in the way that DeAndre Swift did. In fact, it only happened one time throughout the entirety of last season, and that was against the Jags, where Miles Sanders had 27 carries. So that's just how historic that is. That's a big deal. He also had the 11th most yards of any Eagles running back ever in a single game. So that's big in itself. That is a huge bonus there for DeAndre Swift, to get himself that much momentum, to drive himself into the history books. It is also the most of any Eagles running back since 2013 in a single game. It is a ridiculously good performance. And I think for me, what genuinely caps it, even if you take the trademark run of the night, like the 43-yard gain away, if you remove that from the situation, you're still left with a 130-plus yard rushing game where he ripped through the Vikings for fun. And I genuinely think that it's not necessarily, again, the yards he got, it's how he got them. This is probably going to come out weird. I don't want it to sound like a jab at Miles Sanders, because it's sort of all I've done since bringing this show back is have a dig at him. I'm not. But that was what I always wanted Miles Sanders to be. I don't know if anyone else feels the same about that. But for that one game, the Eagles had a running back that when he bounced outside, it went outside. And that there was such a smoothness to the runs that it wasn't jagged or confused or panicky. It wasn't getting stuck in the mud behind the line of scrimmage and just bobbing up and down, waiting to be hit for a tackle. It was run, no halt, bounce outside. And it wasn't bounce outside and run and try and break away a big run. It was find a gap and dive forward to get 3 or 4 yards. It was traditional, dirty running football. Head down, low pad level, make contact, absorb it, push through it, and just grind out those nasty, dirty yards. We haven't seen that in Philadelphia from a running back in a long time, I don't think. A lot of DeAndre Swift's heavy lifting there, I thought, was not on the ground as a runner, but on all fours. He was just leaping forward and just diving for these extra 2, extra 3 yards, where a lot of backs would have tried to run through and got upended or pushed back. And that was really, really good for me. As Ron says there, he had the patience, the vision, the explosiveness, one cut and go. Cannot agree anymore with that. It was a joy to watch. It's the most fun I've had watching a running back performance. I don't think I can pinpoint one. I genuinely think the last time I had that much fun watching an Eagles running back was maybe LeGarrette Blount. If not, I won't even say Ryan Matthews. I was a big Ryan Matthews truther back in the day. I thought if that guy could stay healthy, he was one of the best in the NFL. Just injuries derailed him. But there are a few games he had in Philadelphia, not to that level, but the type of running, the decisiveness, where if there isn't a hole, doesn't matter, leap the other way and just. Or there was one, I think it might even been his touchdown run, right near the goal line, runs up towards the hole and just horizontal turn straight alongside it, never in doubt. There is a decisiveness to it. We haven't seen. Gainwell doesn't have it. Sanders certainly didn't have it. I don't think I can name an Eagles running back in the last 5 years that just had that much like self-awareness, self-confidence, vision, and discipline when running the rock. And it is annoying to think that it took a week of him sat on the sideline, playing Wordle with Nick Sirianni to get to that point. Like, he should have been in preseason. For me was enough. I saw enough in preseason to give that guy the starting reins and be like, yeah, that's my running back one. He had 3 carries throughout the whole of preseason, it felt like, and every one was a huge, huge gain. That was enough for me. That was all I needed. Jay Fizz says he hits the hole aggressive. That's it. There is almost like he just gets to the hole, then decides, and he's got the ability to break away. Just a fun running back, a very fun running back in this system. Someone that's versatile as well. And on a night where Jalen Hurts only passed for 181 yards, the running backs did the lifting. It was the running backs there that really did carry the weight of that offense. Boston Scott too. Let's give Boston Scott his flowers. Okay, he might not be the most, explosive back in the NFL until he plays the Giants, but he too had a very impactful game and was a large reason why this team was able to bounce back the way it did. So there's a lot of reasons to be optimistic about DeAndre Swift. I'm so happy that he did get that night in the sun, his first game back in Philadelphia as a Philadelphia native. Like, that's huge. It was really fun to watch. Ron's definitely correct in that he was bad in pass pro. It was one of the first things I noticed that, yeah, the Eagles absorbed a lot of pressure early. Those opening few drives, Swift was a part of the reason for that. And I hate to say it, I said on Twitter earlier, like Jordan Mailata, let me find a tweet because this really, really did confuse me. And again, not a shot at Mailata at all. Like, Jordan Mailata played well. He didn't play brilliantly. He played well. What he didn't do, however, was play generationally well. I'm sure we can all agree that. And yet somehow, according to Pro Football Focus, if my phone decides to load, where is it? There. So he had a 96.9 PFF grade, which is the highest graded game by an offensive tackle since 2010. I don't know what people I don't know what PFF was seeing there. I don't know if they had rose-tinted glasses on, if they maybe had a little smoke or a drink before the game started, or if someone just collapsed on the keyboard and accidentally hit a 0 in front of the 9. But there is no way that was one of an all-time offensive line performance. Like, if you think Lane Johnson's entire career, okay, that performance against the Vikings is better than all of them, according to PFF. Doesn't check out for me. And on the topic of Lane Johnson, I think he's also been a step off of where he usually is. I would not be surprised if this is the last season we see with Lane Johnson. I don't want a temp retirement. I don't want him to retire. I'm a big Lane Johnson guy. He's had a couple of big injuries. Obviously had a big surgery last offseason. I wouldn't be stunned if maybe it's just caught up to him a little bit and he goes, you know what? Like, I can't do this at the level I want. I just want to step away. I'd understand it. Also, it kind of makes sense given some of the draft history where you've got those more versatile linemen. Like, we assumed that they'd be trying to find a backup center first, and they kept bringing in guys that were big enough to hang outside. Maybe I don't know. I don't think Lane's done just yet, but I think if that carries on, where he is a step back from where we used to see, he's not been playing like the elite tackle that we've all known him and loved him as, wouldn't surprise me. But Mailata, I think, being heralded as the best offensive line performance since 2010. I wasn't watching that game going, my God, Mailata is mauling out there. I was watching that game he's been walked back into Jalen Hurts time and time again. This is a slight... There are messages in the chat, in the Eagles PSN chat. I don't want to, expose anyone and go on a cancel culture sort of run, but I will happily put out, through the opening moments of that game, I'll try and find the messages now. I think myself, Mike Greger, and Brian were talking about it. Let me just scroll back up a minute, but Oh, it's not going to work now. Brilliant. Anyway, yeah, we all agreed. We were like, this is strange. Mailata and Johnson are struggling out there. So the PFF to say that, it's just weird, just very weird. And that's my problem with it. PFF is great if the numbers support the argument. The numbers should never be the argument. Like what you see on tape, what you see on film, what you see on TV, that should be your thesis. Or that you see it. Like you can make your own judgments from it. But to come out and say like that, if you just saw Jordan Mailata had a 96 grade and it was his, the best game of any offensive tackle since 2010, you would expect a highlight reel as long as your arm of him pancaking guys against the run, of him just swatting off clubs and spins and rips and just being this immovable object for 90 minutes. Nowhere near an all-decade game. And I love Mailata. I think he's still one of the upper echelon tackles in this league. That was not, what PFF were advertising as. So maybe they just got the name wrong. I don't know. Either way, just thought it was an interesting note. Pass blocking's been interesting. I think overall, just the offensive line from top to bottom has really been inconsistent to start the year. And I wonder if that is a foundational thing as to why maybe Jalen Hurts has been struggling, because he doesn't have that luxury of time. Maybe he's a bit more on edge. If you think back to 2021, he was constantly on edge. He was constantly being rushed out of that pocket, being hurried out. There's a lot of pressure coming to him from the outside. And I also think that through the early stages of that game, it felt like the Vikings were playing two safeties, two corners, and blitzing everyone else. I don't know if that was the case, but it certainly felt like it. And I wonder if they watched that New England tape and they watched Jalen Hurts really struggle under duress, and that offensive line wasn't quite up to snuff. And they just thought, right, send everything his way. Like, we're not going to be able to contain him. We are not going to be able to stop this man breaking off a 30-yard run and humiliating a DB in the open field. But if we can pressure him long enough to where as soon as he gets the ball in his hands, he's got to take off, that's where their mindset has to be. And I genuinely feel like that is the new meta for, like, coming up against Jalen Hurts. You are going to see a lot of it this year. Teams like the Jets and the Bills, I'm scared. Now, I'll level with you. From a defensive line standpoint, a matchup, defensive, the offensive lines, I once thought the Eagles had the advantage clearly over most teams in the NFL. The offensive line hasn't inspired much confidence over the opening couple of weeks. And if every team is going to take this key in on Jalen Hurts and just send everything at him, it's going to be a tough day of sledding, because he doesn't have that luxury to sit back there and comfortably just throw rainbow passes and, dance in the sun, and it's all joyous with his best friends. This is going to be gritty. This is going to be a tough year. And I think we all have to just accept that this isn't going to be pretty football. This really isn't going to be, sexy Eagles football. This is going to be ground and pound. They're going to have to really grind out these wins, which they are doing, in fairness. 2 games they could have easily lost, 2 games they won, and on the schedule, 2 games they absolutely had to win. So make of it what you will, but it's certainly, an interesting topic. Todd Bowles blitzes a lot. It will be interesting next week. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot about this Eagles team where I think like that matchup in specific is going to be like an intriguing one, given how the injuries are going as well. And speaking of which, I think we have to give a massive shout to what was a bodged up defense. How are you doing, Greg? Thank you for tuning in. Nice to see you in the chat. Play calling feels like it's past pro. Took several drives to start the run game. Yeah, and we'll touch back on that in a sec. We'll circle back to it. But yeah, Eagles injury perspective, they entered this game without James Bradbury, without Nakobe Dean, without Reed Blankenship. That's like the entire left side of your defense, as we said on Wednesday, just out with injury. You've got backups and backups of backups playing. Then Avonte Maddox goes down. So Mario Goodrich comes in. Your top 2 slot corners. One of you drafted a couple of years ago, and one of you drafted a couple of years before that, and then paid a big bag to an Avonte Maddox, out of the game. It could have got messy, and it very nearly did. KJ Osborne had a big touchdown. Mario Goodrich really struggled when trying to contain TJ Hawkinson. Kirk Cousins, I think, like, something snapped maybe half-time, and he started really dialing it up and getting aggressive. Fair play to them for trying to take advantage. But the guys that really deserve credit, Josh Jobe, Justin Evans, Terrell Edmonds, guys like that. Nicholas Morrow, who was like signed to, he couldn't even make the team. He wasn't even good enough to make the team. And he came out and helped the Eagles just about survive what was a very, very difficult game against the Vikings. That could have, even with the starters in, if Bradbury, Blankenship, Dean were all in, they could have all ended up taking an L. On another day when the wind was blowing left slightly and they didn't have their coffee in the morning, could have easily been a loss there. The fact that a group of backups held Justin Jefferson, they held Alex Mattison to 28 rushing yards. 28. I bet the under 54.5. It was never in doubt he was getting near 50, but 28, that's a lot of that's some tough going, you know? And then kind of realizing that, I genuinely feel as though what contributed to the Eagles trying to run the ball was they knew their defense was weak. They knew it was limping. They knew they had issues. And if they can just pound the rock, if Hurts is struggling and your defense is weak, you don't want to be going 3 and out with quick passes. It's just not sustainable. And they very quickly see DeAndre Swift going into the second quarter, had 6.3 yards per carry, was starting to generate momentum. They ran a drive that was 16 plays, 7 runs in a row. 13 of those plays were run plays, and it took like 7 minutes off the clock and ended in a touchdown. That was what this team needed to do, is keep Kirk and JJ away, as far away as they can from touching that field and put up points. That's all they can do. If Kirk comes back and scores within a minute, fair enough. You go back, you try it again. And they got away from it in the fourth quarter. The one time they really needed to, when you're trying to control the pace, trying to control the identity, trying to stop like the clock from just being against you, they then start throwing. And I know there was a callback play and there was a non-PI call on AJ. And we'll get to the AJ and Devontae stuff in the second half of this show. But yeah, like that was when it went wrong. But the fact the game plan was there to keep Justin Jefferson, to keep Kirk Cousins away from that field, to run the rock as efficiently as they did and give their defense just a lifeline that they don't have to be perfect. They can get bullied if needs be. If they get battered and bruised, they give up 30, that offense can score 35. And I think even now that with the talent they have on that defense, even with it being decapitated, there's enough reason for optimism. Like going into next week, again, it's a tricky matchup. It's not going to be ideal, but there is enough optimism with the pieces they have, like to withstand the pressure, essentially. Like James Bradbury should be back anyway from concussion protocol, barring a miracle. Talking of concussion, I'm not sure if you can see this. There's a mark there on my head, right? Can anyone see that? Or am I? It looks really over dramatic if you can't. But I played golf on Thursday evening. There was a ball pressed up right against the lip of a bunker. Right against it. Like physically couldn't be any closer to it. And I've just tried to hit a lob wedge as hard as I can, and I concussed myself. Well, I didn't concuss myself. I hit myself in the head. It left a mark, and it was quite painful. But I do. All I'm saying is I understand James Bradbury's pain. So there you are. Why was Gainwell the sure thing number one? Anyway, he's good in form. You all know he has no elite aspect to his game. Tell you what, the Observer Sports, that is a good observation. I'll give you that. You've lived up to your name. I think the main thing is the fact that draft capital was invested in him, and it was kind of assumed that he would take over that role. I think for me, the given was that coming off that playoff run where he ripped into Miles Sanders' carries. Like Miles Sanders, the guy that was like a former second-round pick in the final year of his contract, was being like made RB3 in the playoffs because Kenny Gainwell was the lead guy. And I think it was 70 yards-ish against the Niners or something like that. Really, really good, really strong performance. And you see that and you're like, okay, the Eagles have officially like moved the conveyor belt along. They've got Sanders out of the way. They've given the baton to Gainwell, the guy they've drafted. It's natural succession in the same way the Bears once went from Jordan Howard to David Montgomery. The same sort of like process is there, just without the trade, and they let him walk anyway. So like that was where the ethos came from. I think they then tried to get some backup in Rashad Penny. That was perfect. They then have a can't miss opportunity. Like if you get given a chance to acquire DeAndre Swift for this grey water bottle, you have to take it. You absolutely have to take it. And then they found themselves with a back that's better than Gainwell, but they maybe didn't want to commit to him optically. And, you know, you don't want your former draft pick just sort of wallowing away or rusting away on the sideline. And they gave him a chance to win that starting role, which is fair to do. Perhaps they should have balanced it and just gone with the hot hand. But if it's clear Gainwell's the cold hand, it would have made sense to make that change, like, I don't know, 2 quarters into the first game and not an entire game after. But I think either we'll go back to DeAndre's game because it was genuinely like really impressive. 175 yards, 1 touchdown, 6.3 yards per carry. And again, the last time an Eagles running back monopolized the carries in the way he did was against the Jags last year. His name was Miles Sanders. The only time he ever did it. The 11th most yards of any I spelled the word running back wrong, of any Eagles running a book ever. So, well done. And most single game yards by an Eagles running book since 2013. It was a big night. It was a very LaShawn McCoy night. It was a throwback night to those glory days of LaShawn McCoy, of Brian Westbrook. It was seeing a dominant running back. We haven't seen it in years. I can't remember the last time I've seen a running back take over a game like that. It was really fun. Let's get to some of the comments, and then we'll take a quick break. We'll come back and we'll talk about the dreaded AJ and Jalen Hurts. Controversy, non-controversy, people overreacting, Dan Silo probably going off and saying shite because he's morbidly racist. But any of that last by the by. We'll get into whether it matters, whether it doesn't matter, what your opinions are on it. I've got a stance, try and be as level-headed as I can with it. I think it's quite natural. But we'll get to that a little bit later on. If you're just tuning in, guys, welcome. We've still got 40 minutes of the show remaining. If you haven't liked the video yet, make sure you do. We are still running our giveaway contest where the rule is if this video gets more likes than points the Eagles scored in the last game, we'll give away an item of Eagles memorabilia. So that's all you've got to do. If you like this video and you get more than 30, let's double check then, 35 likes is the target, we'll give away a piece of Eagles memorabilia. So if you haven't liked it yet, boost those numbers up. These are rookie numbers. And at the end of the stream, if you have passed it, we'll make sure we give away a little prize. That's the rule. We're lovely over here. It's what we do. Isaac says, I also think release Sean Desire is going to be a good coordinator. So far, he's been able to clinch a game and generate 6 turnovers in 4 weeks, 4 of which came with 4 starters out. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the only counter I've got to it is that it's not really a counter, but I think people are going to be worried about the lack of sacks. I think that's genuinely the thing. The Eagles were averaging 4 a game last year. They've got 4 through 2 weeks this season so far, which is a step back. It is definitely a step back from what we're used to seeing. But if the overall result is a much more consistent, more reliable shell of a defense, I don't think anyone's going to care. And when you've got guys like Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter generating as much pressure as they are, that's only going to end well. I think someone like Hassan Reddick, I don't think he's getting the bag he wants. I know there was a stupid question pitched to him in the offseason about whether he's underpaid, and he was, everyone knows. And fair enough. I'm not sure he's going to eclipse that sack total in this scheme. I don't think it's built for that. It's not built for him to rampage the quarterback and consistently get pressure. And if it is, quarterbacks are so aware of it and coaches are so aware that you have got a front 7 where you've got Reddick, Smith. Josh Sweat is having a hell of a year. He's already building on last season, which was beyond impressive. BG, Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis, both of whom have had brilliant starts in 2023. Fletcher Cox, another one, he's just in the rotation, can hurt you. If your depth defensive tackle is Fletcher Cox, just put that into context. Your depth defensive tackle, your first guy off the bench on maybe a 17-play drive to come in near the goal line is Fletcher Cox. That is a damn good defensive front. And I think NFL offensive know that. They don't want to throw deep down the field. They don't want to trust the fact that you're going to be in the pocket for 4 seconds because they're just getting hemorrhaged by an onslaught of pressure. But because of that, I do think Reddick's numbers will be down. There's bound to be discourse in the offseason about his future and his contract and whether it gets readjusted or traded or whatever. But yeah, I think we might see the end of an era for the Eagles paying a pass rusher that much money. That's my take very early on. Again, a lot can change. He might blow up with 16 sacks. We're only 2 games in, but only time will tell. Liam in concussion protocol. I know. Does it look really bad? I'm not sure if it look. It's not that bad, but it's bad. I've got like 3. It's like I've been abducted by aliens. I've got 3. It's not even like a bruise. All I'm saying is you guys are lucky you weren't here when I messed my eye up last year. Jeez. I mean, I actually concussed myself then. Where basically, night before a golf competition, was feeling really good. I was like, I'll treat myself to a Domino's pizza, ease myself in so I'm all relaxed. Dropped the pot of mayonnaise you get with the pizza, and I bent down so quick to pick it up that I headbutted the corner of my kitchen counter. Literally hit there on my eye swelled up, couldn't see out of it. Turns out I concussed myself. apparently lucky not to do any lasting damage. But I was walking around for a month like that. Like it was like a physical golf ball in my eye. So yeah, lucky I wasn't doing YouTube then, because that would have been a hell of a view. I know I've got to catch all these comments now, and I've spoken about so much that I'm probably going to end up backtracking about 8 times. Sun started last season strong and petered out by the end. Yeah, that's understandable. And also the fact they knew he was probably leaving, so it made sense to give Gainwell those carries. I think the issue is we aren't all the way there with being comfortable in the offense. Once they got into rhythm, it did until like the third quarter where they completed. I swear between like, I don't know if this is an actual fact. Someone's going to have to go back and check it or like the ESPN play-by-play. But I'm pretty sure they completed like 2 or 3 passes from like the last 2 minutes of the second quarter to like halfway through the third. Like there wasn't a lot, but they scored a ton of points because of the turnovers, and they scored a ton of points because of the running. But they only completed 2 passes for Jalen Hurts, which is it a concern? I don't know, but we'll get into that a bit later. For the weird calls, yeah, like I said, I mean, I've never had an angry BJ before. I've never been angry at a BJ. I've never wanted a BJ to stop. I did last night, and I am still talking about Brian Johnson. It was confusing at best at times. Again, the offense did settle in, but yeah, there's some still teething problems there. Calling a QB draw on 3rd and 9. Let's start with that one, shall we? Let's break that down for fun. QB draw on 3rd and 9. Now I hate BJs. Now we've got an issue. That's sort of there. I think that BJ was able to adjust before halftime is a great sign. Look, if something's not working with the BJ and you can switch it up to a double-handed guac, game's the game. You've got to do what you've got to do, and we need to trust Brian to adjust that to sort this thing out. The Mad Chatter, thumbs up for you. Thumbs up for you too, Mad Chatter. I appreciate you as always. I think we should start running when a team finally focuses on stopping the run. Yeah, I mean, that's how it did work last year. Like, that's how it should have worked for most of this offense. Like, the Eagles are good enough to play the run to open up the pass. I feel like the Vikings did it. Like, the Vikings really tried it with Madison. He just couldn't get anywhere, so they had to pass. But the Eagles have the ability with those read options to really wreak havoc. And they weren't. Like, Dallas Goedert had a marginally better game than last time. He struggled a little bit. A couple of passes went over his head that were gettable. I'm pretty sure was there one in the end zone he dropped? Or I imagine I was delusional at that point. It was like 4 a.m. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that happened. This game was the best Swift has ever had. Yeah, genuinely. It was a career night again, historic night for DeAndre Swift. Hopefully, a sign of things to come. Hopefully, that continues to build, because it was genuinely, as I've said all show long, a joy to watch a running back run the ball. Like there are very few running backs, I think, in the league today where you get excited just watching them carry. You want to see them carry. Christian McCaffrey is one of them, without a shadow of a doubt. Dalvin Cook used to be. Dare I say Ezekiel Elliott used to be not too long ago. Derrick Henry certainly is. I would say last night's performance got that same reaction out of me. That it was like, oh, I've run with Swift, 8 yards. I'll do it again. Oh my God, they have. Do it again. Oh my God, they have. Do it again. It was like when you're playing like your younger sibling on Madden and you know like PA crosses works every time. So you just YOLO, and it's like 40-0 and he's crying his eyes out. So it felt like that. And it was really fun to watch. Who gets 100 yards in one game? Was it 2000s? Who gets 100 yards in one game? What is it, running back? I can find it. I can find the thing. But I'm trying to. I don't know now. I'll try and find the stat in a minute. But I know that the last time someone broke into the top 10 rushing performances was 2013. It was LaShawn McCoy, who's got 3 of the top 10 single game performances of all time for the Eagles. Swift's was 11th. So it hasn't been for a while that they've got over like 150 anyway. I mean, Miles Sanders might have got close in the Steelers that time. We had like an 84-yard touchdown. I feel like he must have crossed it. I must know what is for dinner today, Liam. What time is it, Liam? All right, so time is 11:30. It's almost time for me to go to bed. For dinner, I had a chicken wrap and garlic bread because I'm quite basic. Just chicken goujons or little chicken breaded chicken in the oven, mayonnaise, lettuce, salad, cheese, wrap. Good. I've discovered that. It's a nice summery thing that I'm eating in the fall or the autumn, which is great. Phil Superdad, do you know what? Yeah, I hope you guys tuned in this morning for Phil, because the guy, bless him, he's done 2 breakfast shows. He's in Cancun celebrating his anniversary, and he has somehow convinced his wife to let him do a breakfast show. And he sat there in a Sixers jersey hosting a breakfast show after a primetime game for you. And it was amazing to see so many viewers in. I'm glad he got the love that he did. He's an amazing asset to PSN. If it wasn't for Phil and the consistency with his breakfast stream, I promise you now, I wouldn't be doing this. I wouldn't have come back and brought the Outside Insider back. So, yeah, a lot of love for Phil. Make sure you continue to show him support on that breakfast show because it is genuinely a really good watch. I'm starting to, but I need a drink of water. So we have hit the halfway point. I've also just realised I'm so far back on comments, so I'm going to get caught up with those in just a minute. And we will get into the Devontae Smith and AJ Brown saga. Not Devontae Smith, sorry, AJ Brown, Jalen Hurts saga. Again, if you haven't liked the video yet or you're just tuning in, welcome. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We do go live Monday, Wednesday, Friday, happy days. Same time, 6 p.m. Eastern. And if we do get more than 35 likes on this stream, we'll give away a piece of Eagles memorabilia. I don't know what it's at now, but I trust you guys to pump those numbers up. I'm going to quickly take a drink of water out of my water bottle. We'll be back in about 30 seconds to keep the show going on again. We're back. He called you out. There's not a breakfast show. I know. It's trending in the air. It's a morning show. I just associate it as like a breakfast show. Did he actually call me out? I'm having words with him. I had to explain. Yeah. We always call it breakfast shows. Yeah. I've always called everything a breakfast show. I bet he's seething because I've marketed it in like emails. Like we send the news. Is anyone subscribed to the PSN newsletter? Put your right hand in the air and give me a wave if you are. I can see it from here. Well, I mark it in the newsletter, and I'm 90% sure I call it a breakfast show, like in the creative, like the graphic. Yeah, he's not a happy man. Sorry, Phil. I love you. Yeah, it's so let's quickly talk about the Jalen Hurts stuff then. So we spoke about the offense, we spoke about everything else. Really quickly, the aliens in Mexico. I think it's cake. I think that the aliens are cake. It looks too, I don't know. It just looks like a rock. It looks like someone's made a sculpture of an alien. Genuinely, it doesn't look like anything. But then again, it's an alien. I don't know what it's supposed to. Like if it came out with like big goggly eyes and little spindly fingers, it probably, that's just how we. I don't know. Look, I think it's cat. I don't think there's aliens in Mexico. I think if we're gonna put our tinfoil hats on here for a second, I think there's something dodgy going on, alien wise, where maybe they've found something. Maybe there's, I don't know the extent of it, but like something UFO related that has gone tits up, be it America or otherwise. So they feel like if they can just lead everyone down this way a bit, then they can sort out what's going on over there. I feel like that's kind of the play. I don't know. They're giving like a read option with the aliens in Mexico. Like they go, are they going to hand it off to Mexico? Bam, UFO invasion, we're all dead in a year. Is it a nuclear war? Bam, aliens in Cancun. I don't know, but I think the aliens in Mexico are cat. And before we get on back talking about aliens again, we will move it on. All right, so we've had our first comment. We'll quickly shout Alex. We haven't had a comment from Alex yet, so we'll shout him out because we are lovely. Regarding the title, RB1, 2 or 3 doesn't matter. It's an arbitrary label others seem to need to use. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be rotation. I think the only thing with it, and this does link very nicely with the AJ Brown stuff, is there's a sense of ego, I think, with skill positions. Same with corner. Corner's another one. I feel like the only places it's the NFL. You're going to get ego at every position because you're the best, like 1% of the 1% of what you do. But running back and wide receiver especially, I think, typically carry those extra personas. So if you get hung up on an RB1 or an RB2, that's where the problems come in. I really don't think it matters that much. It is going to change on a weekly basis. Like, I think we might see DeAndre Swift put up like 30 yards next week. We might see him put up 150 again. But realistically, I feel as though there will be a rotational basis to keep everyone fresh, keep everyone healthy. And dependent on matchup, like Swift just seemed to look really good against the Vikings. I think we've accidentally started inside the conspiracies. I'm telling you, there's a read option with those aliens. Who got the pyramids as Mr. Sandman? There's pyramids in Egypt and Central America. I don't know. I reckon it's not that guy in Mexico. I'll tell you that. It's not the alien there because he's too small. He can't lift anything up. But the pyramids are mental. They confuse me. It's happened again. Okay, again, I have a note on my phone of everything I want to talk about. And I have little comparisons and analogies. And then you get blindsided by who built the pyramids and aliens. And it's the only Eagles show I know of where this sort of stuff happens. And I love it so much. But yeah, the pyramids spin me out. Like all those stats where they're like, what is it? They're aligned to within like a degree of like true north or something like that. Like, is that a coincidence? I don't know. Also, hang on, talking about the whole Mexico thing. Did it not come out like a week ago that apparently they found a snapshot of there being life in a distant galaxy or something? Like that came out a week. I saw it on the news like last week. That it was like through a telescope and they found like particles or something like that. So I don't know. Again, that's my RPO. They're going like aliens in Mexico, bang, distant galaxy, we're getting killed by aliens. If it happens now, you'd be like, Liam was right. You know what else Liam was right about this week? Anyone check their phone earlier? Anyone get a notification from the Eagles earlier? Anyone realise the Eagles made a roster move earlier? Because on Wednesday, I came in, and I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll get the image up again, because some of you might have forgotten. You might need your memories jogging. I don't blame you. We've had a lot since, the past couple of days. But I would like you to take a look at this image for me. There was a man the Eagles signed, a former first-round linebacker by the name of Rashaan Evans. They brought him in to replace the injured Nakobe Dean. I watched some tape on him, and I was bitterly underwhelmed. It was like going onto the PH website at 3 a.m. and just halfway through being, I'm going to bed. It's just not doing it for me. It's not the same. That was what happened here, okay? This felt like Davion Taylor, but a bit taller. I just didn't get it. This wasn't a Mike linebacker signing. This was another outside linebacker. It didn't make sense. So I sat here on Wednesday and I ranted about it. And I gave comparisons to Davion Taylor. And I said, Howie Roseman, you are chasing your ex. Your ex was called Stella. Your new one's called Ella. She was ginger. Your new one's strawberry blonde. I said, you've gone for the same type of player as Alex Singleton. You've gone for the same type of player as Davion Taylor. You don't need those type of players right now. And what happens, ladies and gentlemen, on Friday afternoon, he gets cut. He gets cut off the roster. See you later, Rashaan. He came in for 3 days. He's been cut 2 days later because Howie Roseman watches this podcast. It is not the first time this has happened, and I doubt it will be the last. Howie is an LJ super fan. I'll send him an autograph if he wants one. That's all I'm saying. Howie, let me know. I've said a story a million times, and I will go on to it later, a little fun way to end the show, about one time I genuinely think I accidentally sparked a bad roster move for the Eagles. And it's not an egotistical thing. It's just like the alien in Mexico. It's just very coincidental. Something happened that was very, 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 very coincidental. And we'll get to that. It's a few years ago, so it's irrelevant now, so we can talk about it. But let's have a look. I thought the Eagles played, but still working through stuff. Yeah, you can definitely tell they needed Reed Blankenship back there. I'd probably grade it about the same. C plus, maybe a B minus just for DeAndre Swift. Also, Smitty. I mean, the Devontae Smitty Bitty committee had a great game. I thought, again, like I said all off season, I said it on like Monday's show, Wednesday's show, every article, every podcast, every appearance I've done over the past 2 years, that I think Devontae Smith has the highest upside of any receiver in the NFL. If we were drafting every player today for the next 5 years, you get if you do it, every player gets waived, and you do a 32 team NFL draft, I would take Devontae Smith second or third. And I'm not capping. I'm not making it up. I'm not being sensationalist. For a 5 year, if every player in that pool is on a 5 year contract, Devontae Smith is my guy for 5 years. He's up there with Jefferson. There is no one that runs routes like the way he does. There is no one that is intelligent as he is, I think, in the air, be able to high point balls. He just is. He just is him. He is one of the best receivers in the NFL. And that kind of contributed to what we will finally get to. We're 40 minutes in, and we haven't even spoke about it yet. They found methane on a planet 100 light years away. Yeah, that might be because aliens fart or something, I suppose. I reckon that's what they found Matey Boy in Mexico. They've turned him over, seen he's got some cake, and gone, I reckon he farts. And then Matey Boy scientist has phoned up and gone, yeah, there is methane in space, so that checks out. Aliens do fart. That's it. That's how aliens exist. That's how we find out there's life on other planets. Farting. There you go. All right, so let's get into the good stuff. We've got 20 of you in now. Before we get derailed into more aliens and pyramid talk, there was obviously a discourse between AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts in the heart of yesterday's game. That in itself caused Christ knows levels of debate on Twitter. It was like a minefield. People comparing it to T.O. and McNabb. Some people saying AJ's a diva. Some people saying like Nick Sirianni's a parent. You don't know what they're saying. Like everyone's got something to say about it. It's being blown up way out of proportion. What I will say is, let's just get the graphic on. Liam's made another lovely graphic. Okay, these are the stats through week 1 and week 2. These are the stats through week 1 and week 2. What does AJ Brown have to be pissed off about? I'll ask again. What does AJ Brown have to be pissed off about? Your team is 2-0. You are paid handsomely more than Devontae is for the time being. You have had the exact same receptions as him through 2 weeks. And in game 1, I would argue, what was the better receiver? He was the big play guy. He was your Alshon Jeffrey type role. Some days you don't get it. Okay, some games it doesn't pan out. Throwing a hissy fit over that is bollocks. It's absolute bollocks. There's no need for it. You've had, I think AJ Brown had 1 less target than Devontae Smith that game in week 2. They've had the exact same amount of receptions. It is not anyone's fault that Devontae Smith has done more with it than AJ Brown. And I think that's all we have to say about it. Like, I don't understand. Like, I get there's passion. I get there's, like frustration. And it's fine you get to show it. But it has to be controlled. This was my worry. And it goes back to, a week ago, or not a week, a year ago, when you've got a 1A and a 1B. And you've got 2 guys that are elite wide receivers at the top of their game. 2 top 10 receivers in the NFL. Egos are there. And they're going to get scratched. And sometimes they're going to get rubbed and you get lovely little head rubs. Other times they're going to get a little bit of a reality check. It happens. But if this offense is going to succeed, it has to run through selflessness. Now, I don't think AJ Brown's a diva. I don't think he's an Odell Beckham. I don't think he's a Jalen Ramsey. I don't think he's a Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. I don't think he's a troublesome player to have around at all. I think he's just someone that does have a bit of an ego, which is very understandable for a player of his caliber, getting the money he is. And if you are wide open and you aren't getting targeted, you're going to be annoyed. You're going to make a comment to your quarterback. But what you cannot do is go and force a change in the offense, which is ultimately what happened. And yes, after that, there was a TD called back, and now there was the PI and all the rest of it. But the fact remains that after that conversation, the Eagles' offense went from running all over the world to just trying to force passes. It felt, and all it did was hurt, and it pushed the Vikings back into one possession. It gave the game a lifeline that it didn't really need, because you're trying to satisfy the ego of one player who's in a tiff. It'll get over it. He makes enough money. He's good enough to make up those yards another day. It'll be fine. The team are winning. It doesn't matter. If Golden State, you take that model from a few years ago where you've got Clay and Steph and KD and Draymond. If you've got KD kicking off because he's not getting the ball and Steph's putting up 40 and the team are winning, it's a problem. It cannot go on. It has to be checked at the door. And it's not saying it won't be, but the egos have to be checked. I think Nick Sirianni will do it. I think AJ Brown is mature enough to handle those situations. I don't think it's a diva thing. I think it's frustration. I think it's passion bleeding out, but it has to be channeled. And if it's not channeled, it can be hurtful. And that's where you get the blow-ups. It's where you get the holdouts. It's where you get the anonymous sources. It's where all the rest of the bollocks comes in. That was a look. That was a window, a little foresight of what could be if things maybe went wrong in Philadelphia. Let's say the Eagles only won 2 games this year, for instance. They're not going to, but let's just say that for instance. And let's just say Devontae Smith ended up leading the team in receiving yards. AJ Brown was 400 yards back. That glimpse would be magnified by about 50. And I think that's what we have to take away. It's a non-issue for now. It is a non-issue. It doesn't matter. It's someone at the top of his game that's feisty, frustrated, and passionate. Just how I like my women. And at the end of the day, he's allowed to show that because he's not getting the attention he wants when he's working to get wide open and he feels he can contribute more to the team. It's from a good place. Hurts knows him. They can channel that and they can build on it. That's fine. But if that starts to snowball and that frustration starts to build, that's where it has to be stepped out. It's got to be snuffed out now. That's where I stand on it. As long as it's snuffed out now, it's a non-issue. If it's not, it definitely could be down the line. So hopefully that makes sense. We'll see what you guys are saying about it. Isaac says it is just his competitive spirit. It's him wanting to get the ball and be dominant. He's an alpha, and his best friend's a quarterback. There's a level of respect. Yeah, exactly. It wasn't a taff. It wasn't like fisticuffs. It wasn't, I'm going to follow you on Instagram tomorrow. It wasn't stupid and irrational. It was a place of like passion, like what are we doing sort of thing. And I understand it. There also just has to be a level of like tone it down. Like, you know, like let's just help each other sort of thing. Help me to help you. Because if you're pissed off, that's going to start throwing you the ball because it's going to reflect bad on everyone else. Like, it's got to be channeled the right way. He's fine to have that reaction. I have no concerns about AJ Brown as a player, as a person, or anything like that. But that sort of scenario has got to be handled efficiently, which it was. It was handled efficiently. Yeah, that's all I've got to say on it, really. It's a non-issue until it's an issue. It's not a problem until it is. Have you seen how jacked AJ Brown is? Yeah. You tend to stop complaining. Look, I could box Devontae Smith. We've said that before. I reckon left, right, good night from me. AJ Brown, I don't know. I probably wouldn't, but I'll give it a go. I reckon I could take AJ Brown. I could have, you know, I'll take him. I'm sure. It wouldn't stand a chance, mate. It wouldn't stand a chance. Wouldn't stand a chance. I will tell him. I'll turn to his face, Mr. Sandman. I'll go right up to him. I'll look up like that. Be like, AJ. You targets. AJ had that PI and callback touchdown. Yeah, he's going to be annoyed, but yeah, that's it. I don't see it as an issue, and it's not like there's a balance issue, which is my point where I showed the image. We'll bring it up again. Like there's no way he's gonna be pissed off genuinely about usage or about targets or about receptions because the volume share is genuinely identical. You could not ask. It's a physical 50-50 split. It could not be any less biased if it tried. So there's no reason for this to become a long-term thing. This will be a one-time thing. He's frustrated. Things are built up. They're trying to win the game. The offense is starting to stifle at that point. He got annoyed. It got fixed. End of, I think. I'd like to say there. You being a full body cast. Well, you should see the other guy, mate. You should see the other guy. A full body cast. You wait till I go, yeah, I have nothing to do with me. No. I'm really worried my neighbours are going to think I'm like battering someone down here. And they have to come down. I'll be like, yeah, I was mimic boxing AJ Brown. Who's that? Oh, he plays for the Eagles and he's like 6'4" and massive. So, you know, you haven't seen me fight, is all I'm saying. Fists of Fury. No one has beaten me when I've used Fists of Fury. I've used it on my brothers. I've used it on friends. I've not used it in real combat yet, granted. I think I ever would, unless I have like a few too many drinks. But what I will say, Fists of Fury, just all everywhere, like slap them, high, low, punch, high, low, just everywhere. And I don't know what to do. So coward, you win. Easy. All this stuff about, you know, right hand, left hand. Nah. Just quick jabs everywhere, all over the place. He wanted to do it themselves. AJ wouldn't have a chance. He would cower in disgust. He wouldn't show his face. He'd black out his social media and run away. Wouldn't want any of it. He doesn't want the smoke. Obviously, I'm messing. Obviously, I'm winding you up. More like Blades of Glory. Well, genuinely, if it was Blades of Glory, it'd be one of my favourite films. I love that film. I don't think all of us have been a body cast, apart from me. I don't know. I'm trying to think of the limit of Eagles player that I wouldn't start on. Because I think half of it is like, okay, you know, there's that thing of like, apparently if you ask a guy that if you're in a plane and like the pilot passes out or that, you know, for some reason the pilot can't fly the plane and you get chosen, that, oh my God, can anyone fly a plane? Can you land this plane? Like apparently like 55% of American males in a survey with that voted yes. That's me in this situation. Like there is just a preconceived, I'd knock him out. It's the same thing. So, no, but I reckon I could land a plane. Can't be that hard. I don't know. It's just joystick. It's all automated nowadays. It's like a Tesla. It drives itself. All you got to do is like position it and pull it up a little bit. Be fine. Land a plane. Sort you right out. It low-key, how does it work, though? We kept throwing to him, almost had 2 touchdowns. Yeah, I mean, that's it. I mean, there's an element, there's a balance, isn't there? Like, if AJ Brown voices a concern and Jalen's like, you'll get yours, and Nick Sirianni draws up a pass and it works, it's a non-issue. It doesn't help that the plays did get called back, because had they gone through, had he scored a touchdown that didn't get called off, it wouldn't have been an issue, if that makes sense. And that's how we kind of have to view it. That the team, it was channeled the right way. It was for the right reasons. It wasn't toxic. That's the main thing. It wasn't toxic. We have to take that. It wasn't a toxic outburst. It wasn't a lash out of the quarterback. There wasn't a genuine argument. It was a heated, what's going on level thing. Can we sort this out? And they did. And I think, as long as it's channeled in that way and it's productive, you'll be fine. As soon as it gets to a point it's not, then again, we'll see. But I think if AJ Brown was going to be problematic, we'd have known a long time ago. He wasn't during his entire time in Tennessee, when he was just stood there with his hands on his hips watching Derrick Henry run 87 times a game. He wasn't last year when Devontae Smith got his a lot of the time. He wasn't in week 1 when Devontae Smith, for a chunk of it, was dominating targets. And even now, it wasn't that bad. He just asked what's wrong. So anyone overblowing it and comparing it to T.O. and McNabb need a slap around the back of the head, because it's nowhere near that. No need to worry whatsoever. LJ, have you seen the control panel of a jetliner? No, but I did play Microsoft Flight Simulator and crash a lot. So, can't be that bad, Can't be that bad. I said I'd land it. I didn't say I'd land it successfely. I mean, it could be in the ocean. It could explode, but I'll land the plane. It will hit the ground. The plane will hit the ground. Along with air traffic control help. Yeah, get them on the phone. Be like, right, hit the big red button. Yeah, got you, mate. Just don't turn it left. Donuts in the air, spinning round, barrel rolls, all the lot, showing off for the passengers. They're like, whoa, this pilot's so good. He must have done this his whole life. I love it. Oh, really? It's only if they're playing an airport. Oh, that's annoying. I have to do it myself. I have to improvise. Let's just hope it never happens in real life. Let's just hope. Just hope I never get asked to fly a plane. What do we do about wide receiver 3? Interesting question. That has been very much a non-position this year. Quez Watkins did, just funny enough to start talking. Runs pit and he got hurt. Yeah, I think it was a minor injury. I don't think it was bad. Zacchaeus started getting snaps. I think he did anything of note, which is annoying. I think he played 7 snaps last week as well. Also annoying, because I'm a big Zacchaeus truther. I like Olamide Zacchaeus. I think he was great in Atlanta. Realistically, it should be OZ. I think it has to be. He's the best fit for it. Well, the one person we can officially drop off this roster, though, is Britton Covey. I don't know how he's still knocking about, to be honest. Look, I'm British. He's called Britain. I'd still cut him. No need. I'll return punts as well. I'll bash AJ Brown and I'll go and return punts. I'll do it all, mate. I'll do it all. But no, there should be, I think, it's been neglected for a while. Here we go. Right, we got some breaking news. Let me read this on my phone. Rashaan Evans' practice squad contract was terminated today by the Eagles at his request. Evans has options from several other teams that he's currently considering. But is that when your girlfriend breaks up with you and then you go and tell your friends, yeah, I broke up with her because my dick was too big. She couldn't handle it, mate. Yeah, it's a real shame, actually. Lovely girl, though. Is that what we've seen there? Is that his agent being like, yeah, actually, Rashaan told the Eagles he's leaving? Eagles cut Rashaan, more like Rashaan cut the Eagles, mate. He's got offers coming out his ear. We're talking AFC, NFC, loads of them. I wonder, unless it obviously means he's got to be a starter, in all seriousness, he's probably been given an offer somewhere else. But very weird how he's come in and then gone, actually, imagine that. Imagine any other universe. You start a new job and then 2 days in, just knock on your boss's door. Go, you're right, Steve. Yeah, you're right, mate. Bit of a minor quibble. I had just been offered a job to do the same job, but in, I don't know, New York instead of Philadelphia. Pays exactly the same, but it's just better for me. So I'm going to take that if that's all right. And I'm going to go, sign in, haven't you, Michelle? We've just brought you in, haven't we? It's funny, we've just signed you in to play for us, haven't we, you silly goose? He's going to, but I've started over there, so I'm going to See you later. It's just the weirdest. Yeah, man. Fair enough to him. If he has got obviously to be a starter, I'll put money on the fact he doesn't start. But I do find that funny. So we'll put a clip at that. So it's quite good, aptly timed, if you will. 5 minutes to go. So how his new girl, who was like his old girl, didn't want him. Yeah, literally, 100%. Yeah, I mean, but that's what I would have assumed, Ron. Yeah, I mean, it's not like they elevated him or anything like that. So, I mean, he wasn't protected. He could have eased. I mean, I think the only thing, I'm not sure if it impacts waiver claims or not. Maybe that's a factor. Or maybe it's to do with the Eagles, like, contracts and Howie and money. I don't know. Very funny, though, either way. I mean, we have had some stellar Eagles careers this year, haven't we? Miles Jack comes in, and a week later goes and starts like a plumbing business. Rashaan Evans, same position, comes in, and he just fucks off. He goes, "Nah, I don't want it anymore. I want to be cut. Cut me. Get rid of me." Oh, it's brilliant. You can't write it. Yeah, no, that is true. The Eagles are very player first focused. I will give them that. But it also could be the fact that maybe he was brought into the practice squad with the intent of maybe being elevated. And then he's realised that maybe Howie's got someone up his sleeve. Maybe there is a move cooking. I don't want to say Patrick Queen, but maybe there is a little bit of, movement there. Maybe he's heard through the grapevine that the Eagles are going to go and try and land an impact player that can fill Nakobe Dean's spot for a few weeks. And he's gone, well, there's no ceiling for me here. Would you mind letting me go so I can go elsewhere? Could be that. It could be as simple as that. But either way, it just is slightly amusing to read, isn't it? Do you think we make a trade? You're like premeditating this. You're inside my head, and as I'm talking, you're like just guiding me down this path. It's phenomenal. The synchronicity is lovely. I don't know. The only guys, I mean, there's Patrick Queen, and there's Matey Boy with the Cardinals, and that's about it. There really isn't like a lot out there, I don't think. And if Nakobe's going to be back, if he's on IR, that's at least 4 weeks. But they said Ian Rappaport's original report was to be back in plenty of time to start, like, for the second half of the season. So I don't know if it's worth like giving up a significant asset to land someone like that, especially if you're talking Patrick Queen. You're going to have to pay him a king's ransom eventually anyway. It is a Chauncey Gardner-Johnson level move. And again, like you've then got to show them not show them the playbook. Oh, here it is. But like they've got to learn the playbook. They've got to get acclimated with the defense. Like, let's not forget a great example is Golden Tate. The Golden Tate trade was an absolute disaster class, right? Because he came in at the deadline and everyone was like, "Oh, Golden Tate's so good." And it's like, well, no, because he's got to move his family. He's got to come in at the deadline and expected to make an instant impact. Or he doesn't know the terminology, doesn't know the offense, doesn't know the playbook, doesn't have any rapport with the quarterback, doesn't have any affiliation with the coaching staff. It's going to take a few weeks. And when he did kick in just in time for the playoffs, it was all right and the Eagles got their money's worth. But everyone panicked for the first month. Because they expected like a Madden level sign a player and he's great straight away. It doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. Let's have a look. Does Howie bully linebackers like how linebackers used to bully him when he was little? Wow. Okay. Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, but both linebackers are just gone. Yeah, it is funny. Now Howie and Sirianni have seen what's going on. They will start making adjustments. Yeah, I'd like to assume so. When you hear people talk like you would think we're 0-2. Yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree with that. Like, for some reason, people just do think the sky's falling. The main thing is a 2-0. It doesn't matter. Like, if they were 0-2 and the AJ blow-up happened, regardless of the framework, and that would have been taken grander scheme out of context. It would have been a much bigger issue. But it just wasn't a big deal. The team have won both their games. We need the Eagles team. If you look at their schedule, I'll get it up on my phone. I can't remember off the top of my head. But like they need to win a lot of these opening games. The Vikings had to be a win. The Patriots had to be a win. The next two, the Bucks and the Commanders, should be wins. The Rams should be a win. If they can pull out a win streak up to there, regardless of how ugly it is, it's fine. Because then you can afford a loss to Aaron Rodgers. You can afford a loss to the Patriots. Beat the Commanders. Beat the Cowboys at home. And then you're set off the bye for that run. Chiefs, Bills, Niners, Cowboys, Seahawks. Survive that, 2 wins maybe, and then win against the Cardinals and the Giants, and that should be enough to win the playoffs, or not win the playoffs, but make the playoffs. So yeah, the main thing is the 2-0. If they drop either of those games, I think the alarm bell should very actively be framed. Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot about Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, my bad. Having said that, though, the Jets' defense does exist, and if that Eagles' offensive line is as leaky as it has been, still could be an issue. I think they lose the game, but I don't know. Zach Wilson's all right, I suppose. Who am I kidding? It'll be a cakewalk. I'll piss that now. Never mind. What else have we got? Any other comments? I think the Golden Tate move would have been fine, but Grohl was awful at OC. Yeah, it didn't help. It definitely didn't help that Mike Groh had never touched the playbook in his life. Don't work Groh's name ever. I don't want to see the flashbacks. Fair enough. Okay, we'll end it on a high though. The Eagles are 2-0. They beat the Vikings in prime time. They continue to live rent-free in Minnesota heads. And we now move. We've got 10 days without Eagles football, which sucks. But we might just see a little bit of movement. Could be a trade. Could be something. So could Howie be cooking in that kitchen over there? We don't know. What we do know is I'll be cooking back Monday. This is the longest you've been without a show now in a week. I came back Monday. We've had Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And Friday last week. We had Friday last week as well. So what was it? Friday, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I've had 4 shows now. Go for 5. We're at a 5-show anniversary next Monday. I hope you don't miss it. Guys, thank you for tuning in. I'll be back with you Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern. Don't forget, Monday, Phil will be back for his non-breakfast breakfast show, Trending in the AM. Make sure you hang out 8:15 a.m. Eastern. It is a great laugh. He's a brilliant host. Facilitates all of your conversation and goes over all the best storylines in Philadelphia. It's a fantastic addition to PSN. I'm always excited for it. Hope you guys are too. Thank you very much to everyone for hanging out this evening. To Ron, Isaac, Jarrell, Marshall Lynch, the Mad Chatter, Duck, Ron. Have I said Ron? If I'm not, I've just said him twice. Ron, that fella called Alex who had a comment earlier. You guys are all the real MVPs. Thank you for everything. I'm going to go try and somehow shithouse win a golf competition tomorrow. We'll see. I need a miracle, but hungry dogs run faster, and that's how we're going to end it. Guys, enjoy your weekends. Take some time off. Spend it with your families. Tell everyone you love them that are around you. It's positive vibes only. I love all of you. And I'll see you all on Monday for another episode of The Outside Insider. Take care. Bye. I sound like a phone call. Bye.